Welcome to the ID Club after Nebraska football. Josh Peterson, Jack Mitchell with you on this Saturday morning. Jack, it is a gorgeous morning outside. I cannot get over how nice it is outside and how terrible the vibes are not going to be on this podcast. How are you?
Oh, God. You still like Friday night games, Josh? You still freaking like Friday night games?
Hey, at least we have our whole Saturday. I get my whole Saturday to sit on the couch. I'm going to make some breakfast tachos after the podcast. Like, I'm going to have a great day. I'm going to have a great day.
I am too. I'm going, my wife and I are going to Nebraska City. We're having a, Wait, what? Do you hate Nebraska City?
No, I don't want to go anywhere today. I just want to sit on the couch. Sorry.
We're going to go. I mean, it'll be nice. It'll be nice. So,
welcome in, everybody. Nebraska lost last night. I don't know if you know that. We will talk about. I guess it does say so on the little score bug we have. People listening after the fact.
I hadn't seen
podcast.
that. Oh, well, I guess we should probably get into that. That's not the result I expected. Wow.
24-6. Jack, where do we? And by the way, like and subscribe. We would love to have you. This is the I-80 Club. We'll be reading comments from our I'm guessing a little sarcastic subscribers. At least one of them I can see right now inside of our Discord server. But if you want to drop us a super chat, we'd be happy to read that as well. Normally we do the Saturday morning coffee show on these Saturdays. Today it is after Nebraska football because as Jack said, they played in a Friday game, which he so much loves. At least Jack got some sleep. I don't think I fell asleep, Jack, until 1:30 at the earliest. It's probably closer to 2 o'clock.
Man,
I'm on fumes right now.
I was so glad we didn't have an I-80 show. I felt bad that you had to. I couldn't have done it. You know, it was worse than when I was not in the mood after Nebraska basketball loses and I had to do after Nebraska ball. I would have just stared at the camera. You would have just had to watch me for an hour, stare at the camera and say nothing. So thank goodness we're in the morning. I do feel bad for you.
D'Lo says it was great last night. Thank you, D'Lo. I do like working with Matt. Matt and I think we have really good chemistry. It's a lot of fun.
Dude, I turned off at some point. I can't even remember what set me over the edge. With a few minutes left, I turned off the game.
Oh, really?
I don't think I've done that since the Indiana game last year. I probably did that maybe, or the Oklahoma game.
I missed the end of the Indiana game last. I don't know if I ever went back and watched the last almost quarter because I was watching that game at a friend's house and I left at the end of the third. I was like, screw this. I don't want to watch so I listened to it. And so at some point I heard another interception from Raiola. I was like, well, I'm happy I left. Didn't have to watch them score another touchdown.
I'm trying to put it in because this is kind of what we do. To try to put it in like historical context, compare it to other things. And, you know, we're in an era of painful losses, but this was just a brand new brand of one where it felt, I don't know, maybe this has happened a lot during the last several years, but man,
straight ass whooping.
I did not see this coming at all. I didn't. Yeah. I didn't think it was a guaranteed win, but I thought Nebraska and Minnesota were in a place where what happened last night could not, would not, should not happen. And I was dead wrong. Like I was totally wrong. I don't even completely know why. There's one clear reason that somehow Nebraska papered over against Maryland, which is the absolute complete inability to protect their quarterback, or their quarterback's inability, whatever. All of the reasons, you know what I'm talking about. Sacks.
Oh, yeah.
Sacks over and over and over and over and over again. That's the number one reason. That's been but that's not, it shouldn't be a surprise because the minute the Michigan game ended, I think I said, and many people agreed, like that's the number one problem with the team, far and away. The Michigan State game happened. Same thing, right? The Maryland game happened, and for some reason, when they played the best pass rushing team of that entire group, and
I was going to say the whole stretch of all the teams that they played in this stretch of football, that was the one where it's like, all right, you got to worry about these sacks. You got to.
Isn't it so weird? Somehow they neutralized it against Maryland. Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah. And so then they flip it, and last week, of course, they have all those interceptions, and then this week, Jack, I don't know at what point on the post-game show, maybe it wasn't until after the game, you realized they didn't turn the ball over. They had 0 turnovers last night. And yet, again, just a thorough domination. Those sacks. Caleb Henry's hanging out with us this morning. I see in the Discord server. What up, Caleb? His tweet last night where somebody Googled the amount of times that Rome was sacked, and Caleb quoted it and said, sacked more than Rome itself, is maybe the funniest tweet that Caleb has ever had. I think it is. That was a very good tweet. 9 sacks, and everyone I think was worse. Like, they just got more annoying to me. They just kept compounding. Whoops, you put that up there. They kept compounding on top of each other. And Mike says, Josh and Matt were great, thank you. Was this a groin kick? And then adds Goms. This was, Jack, this was not a groin. Like, yeah, our new subscriber, one of our new subscribers, Mr. Cubsker, he tagged us at some point, like, where would this rank on the Chronicles? Like, I haven't seen the math. God, I have to imagine this is like very much near the bottom. They were out-yarded, but it wasn't like, 3-1 or anything like that. I can't imagine their win probability was very high at any point in this game. But Jack, that isn't the takeaway from this. And I know I feel like we're going in 8 different directions in the first 5 minutes already, but I can't get over that it was a 1-point game deep into the third. It was a 1-possession game into the fourth. And yet it never felt that way. That drive, that 98-yard drive, I said that was the one where Matt and I, because we watched the whole game together at the station. That was the drive where he looked over at me at one point and said, all right, I'm officially starting to get nervous about, I'm worried that they're not going to be able to win this game. That was the drive where it went from, well, they're not playing very well, but they'll still probably find a way to, oh no, are they going to lose this game? And by the time that they threw that pass over the top and took the 8-point lead, I thought, all right, game's over. They're not going to win this one.
And that was the only play of that entire drive that was particularly, impressive. They nickeled and dimed them the entire freaking way down the field. It was unbelievable. Like, the scheme the offense had with the quick passes, finding open receivers, getting 4 yards on a run, always falling forward on runs. It's just like, I saw that happen, and there was a part of me that was like, hell, this is what Nebraska's offense needs to do if they can't, instead of dropping Dylan back and, giving 5 minutes. I kept thinking last night that obviously we've all seen it, right? Pass protection is a huge issue. And I thought at the end of the Michigan State game and at the Maryland game, Holgorsen had found out a way to scheme around it as much as you could. Josh, it didn't look like they even tried to do that on last night to kind of scheme around it. Like, where is that? Where's that offense against Cincinnati? And I know it had something to do with the way Cincinnati was playing defense, but
I saw your tweet about that last night. How it made you regret being mad about.
Remember I bitched about how risk averse they were on that offense, and it was all these short open passes. Where in the hell was that? Because that's what Minnesota did. Minnesota would switch into zone, find a guy and sit him down there quick. You've got good receivers. God, and this is what kills me. Last night I said this on your afternoon show, and I still think it. This is the best collection of skill players Nebraska's had across the board in years, and they didn't
100%.
even freaking use them.
No.
None. They didn't. 2 of them did not get used at all. Would Ja'Cory Barney have 1 catch? Danke had none. Nothing. You can't. Your offense is so screwed that you can't even use your players. It's unreal. Danke, box score. Danke, 0 catches. Ja'Cory Barney, 1 catch for 1
yard.
1 catch for 1 yard. Arguably, your 2 best offensive players didn't contribute with the ball.
Yeah. And how about the fact, too, you and I, we did the watch party for Michigan State, and I don't remember at what point you said it inside of that game, but it was like, they don't have any normal passes. All of the passes are weird. It was the same thing last night. Yep. Not the first drive, because the first drive sucked. The second drive, their first scoring drive, was that the one where Dylan was running around a little bit and he hit Lindenmeyer? That was a cool play, but it always took that. It was never drop back. Time. Throw the ball, and when he don't have a normal-looking pass the whole game. He'd overthrow the guys by 5 yards.
They don't ever have a hike.
Yeah,
they don't have that.
They never do.
They don't. Where is that?
Yeah, and Matt points it out. Hunter had a horrible job. Yeah, even even like the times that they schemed a dude open, Dylan missed him, or the time that he hit him, like that was the one throw, because at that point it was 14-6, right? When Hunter just dropped that ball, if I remember right, or maybe it was a 2-score game by that point in time. I can't remember. But that was the one where it's like, oh man, he finally hits him. He hits him in the hands. And Matt also asked, how many rushing yards did EJ have? I know we have like 40 total, but that includes sacks. He finished
63.
with, I was going to say, he finished with 63, but how many carries did he have,
14
Jack?
carries.
14 carries. And that one drive,
that's fine.
Where they finally started to get going, that's fine. He had, so it was the first drive of the third quarter, right? It was the first drive of the second half. And that was the one where they picked up the third down on that little over-the-top pass, like at the defensive line was in Raiola's face. I thought that was maybe the best play he made all night. He floated it over him to EJ, and he squirreled around, picked up a first down. Next play, give it to him. Boom, 12 yards. And it's like, here we go. And then incomplete, misses the deep ball by a lot of yards, and then he sacked, and then it was like, all right, that was like the last good drive that the team had the entire game.
If Emmett ever had space, he made some freaking moves last night.
I know, man.
Like, you have all of this unused talent. It's unbelievable. What a waste. Emmett Johnson is playing the best of his life. He's playing at an all-conference level. They can't find a way to get him the ball. I mean, they tried. They did, at least for him, and he made some plays too, right? Because he also had 5 receptions for 37 yards. But I mean,
so he had about 100 yards. He had about 100 yards from
I don't have anything. He wasn't quite as, like, when he had a chance, he was pretty electric again last night. It wasn't a great game for him, but
it was again, I mean, no bits aside, it was a fine.
It was fine. Inexcusable that Ja'Cory Barney can't get involved. Like, figure, I don't know what you need to do, but and look, you can't change your offensive line now. But there's got to be a better way to scheme around it than what they did last night. There has to be. And we've seen it. Just like, I mean, and we can get to the O-line. I mean, I'm just taking that for granted at this point. That it's, I mean, basically a sieve.
It's like a part of the package, right? Like this is kind of what you get. I want to read 2 comments. I want to focus on one of them in a moment. So I'm going to make sure I take a screenshot just in case there's a lot of other stuff. So I'll do this. Okay. I want to read this one from Matt first. So he says, Nebraska had like 54 offensive plays, right? How does this team have so few offensive plays? Well, they didn't have any sustained drives. And that, I mean, Jack, that third quarter 98-yard drive.
How many third downs did they get?
That's a great question.
It felt like a great question.
That was among the most demoralizing drives. They had 14 total plays. It took 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Somebody help me out maybe and look in that. All right, let's see. Here it is. So they start on their own 2. They have 3rd and 3 at their 9. They pick that up. They have, wow, Jack, are you ready for this? So they had 3rd and 3 at their 34. They did at Nebraska's 34. They don't get it. That sets up the 4th down, and that was when the penalty was called on Andrew Marshall. And then the next play, they hit the touchdown. So, Jack, you ready for this? They went 1 for 2 on 3rd downs that whole drive. It was always.
They only had 2. All right.
Yeah, so look at this. It's like it's 1st and 10, and then it's 2nd and 11, first down. 1st and 10, then it's 2nd and 2, first down. 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, first down. Like, they always were getting large cracks. So, like, to answer the question, why did Nebraska only have 54 plays? They didn't have sustained drives. And in particular, that drive sucked the life out of everybody. That one drive was, I mean, I was trying to figure out in, like, recent years, like, that is the among the worst. Like, that is among the worst that we have seen that defense play. Because it wasn't the back-breaking 3rd and 4th downs. It was just pure domination. And then the quarterback, nice play by Lindsey, hits his guy over the top.
That throw was great.
20 yards. Ridiculous.
Like, I couldn't believe he caught that. I mean, it wasn't even that poorly covered. And, but it was just the whole way down. It was nickel and diamond, Josh. It wasn't ever big plays. It was just runs that were falling forward. We're getting 4 and 5 yards. It was receivers who were, God, they killed. How many freaking drag routes did they have that worked? Right? Like,
interesting. Wouldn't you like to see one of those from Nebraska?
Can you imagine Ja'Cory Barney doing a drag route like that in the middle of the field? I mean, like, if they're playing man, like, I mean, Jones couldn't keep up with that receiver that was doing that drag route. Like he just waited until he got. Oh God, I'm so frustrated.
The other comment, Jack, that I had, and I don't know if this is like where we want our focus to be today, but this is what I've been thinking about a lot since Matt and I talked in the parking lot for 5 minutes last night, and I was just kind of saying like what's on my mind and kind of how I'm projecting it moving forward in terms of like what I want to talk about. But D'Lo a few minutes ago said the quarterback is not good, and I think last night it really kind of crystallized for me that I do not enjoy the Dylan Raiola experience of Nebraska football. I don't like the whole package of him as Nebraska's quarterback. I don't like the way that he is talked about. I don't like the way that some people get so defensive of him. I don't like the way that some people go after him really, really hard. I don't like that him and his offensive line coach are attached at the hip because they're family members. I don't like watching him play the position sometimes. I don't need this mobile dual threat guy, but man, it's very depressing that he drops back and the defense knows we can give you all this space and it doesn't matter. It's not fun. It is not a fun on or off the field discussion. And you know, there's this guy in my life who pretty plugged into the program, and so sometimes when he says these things, I wonder, is he tipping me off for the future? But he always has been saying for the last month, Nebraska and him, it will be better when they are not together. It will be better for him to go play quarterback somewhere else. It will be better for Nebraska to have a different quarterback. And I've been thinking, like, come on, man, like that is such an overreaction. And yet I watched last night and I can't help but think, you know what? I think this person is right. And like G. Merle just posted a tooth emoji. Like, this isn't even me calling. It's time for TJ Lateef. It's just more like it's just not fun. It's not an enjoyable experience right now that he is the quarterback for a million different reasons. And last night, again, I think last night, Jack, for whatever the reason, crystallized perhaps the best for me at any point over his 20 starts now, 20 starts, and he took 9 freaking sacks, and not all of them, of course, were on the offensive line.
It's still so bizarre because, again, last night he had a couple of plays that were just like ridiculous, like highlight plays. And even the last drive against Maryland, he has a couple of those too. But those are like he does the highest level of difficulty improvising. Those are his good plays, right? There's no just standard drop back, it
can never be normal. Like the touchdown from Minnesota, right?
Right.
It was a normal touchdown.
And I'm exaggerating a little. I'm sure there's some of that. But last night, it sure didn't feel like there was a whole lot. And again, in part because he's under complete siege immediately. Freaking immediately. I mean, goodness sake. But again, I still don't know how you can't find a way to start to scheme around that. If they're going to, I mean, more screens, more whatever. I don't even know. I don't know X's and O's well enough. I'll admit it. But man, what they were doing, not changing it and not getting into the hand of your playmakers. I mean, hell, go into some wildcat or something. Damn, try something.
Yeah.
Different instead of just constantly dropping him back and immediately destroyed. Look, and the offensive line, the guys who did play were bad. You lost 2 guys. You had one of the most egregious ejections, and it was terrible. So Spindler's out. That hurt, right?
For sure.
2 of your 3 best offensive line go out. Gatula had probably his worst night as a Husker. Maybe even more than Michigan. And he doesn't. He sometimes. It's odd because he has his issues in terms. Sometimes he steps up times where it doesn't feel like he shouldn't. Sometimes he doesn't.
Terrible pocket awareness.
Sometimes it's like he's stepping into people. On the other hand, to his credit, he will avoid sacks I think he has no chance of avoiding sometimes. And those are that's how all the best plays get started.
Mm-hmm. Well, the play like the Lindenmeyer play. Yeah.
Exactly. Or the Lindenmeyer play against Maryland,
Yeah, for sure.
Those are all of his best plays, but it is a weird way to feast or famine an offense.
And I just don't know, It's obviously not sustainable because, Jack, like you and I were talking, you filled in for the last hour plus on Sportsman Iconic yesterday. And one of the things that I mentioned was, look, like as many problems as the offense has, they have scored in Big Ten games. They scored 27 against Michigan. Take away the block punt against Michigan State. They scored 31 on offense versus Michigan State. And last week they scored 34. And so it's like, all right, man, like they had massive issues inside of every game. And they basically got to 30.
They adjusted.
You add those up, divide those three scores, Adam divided by 3. It's like, I think it's probably 30.3 points per game. And so it's like, okay. So the floor is seemingly this high that like they can fart around for an hour and still get to 30. Like, all right, I'll take that. You know, and you wish that they could find more consistency. And then it all comes crashing down and they score 6 points. And I don't even think I said red zone on the radio show last night. And you and I haven't said it so far in 20 minutes, but they get down the red zone and then everything goes to hell. And man, those sacks, Jack, in the red zone, like I guess shout out to Raiola, that third down run, he maybe saved 3 points. In the end, it didn't matter. But they get down there, and everything goes to shit every single time. And it's so disappointing. And so the fact that their floor is not 20 points or even 30 points, it's 6, it's very problematic for the final 5 games because, look, there's no reason that Northwestern can't try to put them in a phone booth next week. You know, there's no reason. I mean, look, they're going to have to keep up with USC. Good luck on that one. And that Penn State, and let's not even mention Iowa. Like, we know what that horror show is going to look like.
This game felt like an Iowa game, didn't it? This game felt like a freaking Iowa game.
100%. Maybe without the late stage groin kicky, nature of it.
Yeah.
It felt like just an ass whooping. It just was an ass whooping.
It felt like they got the long run, and that's all they were going to need, They got the long Darius Taylor touchdown, and then they were just kind of waiting. The way that PJ Fleck punted.
They were waiting for the mistake.
In the moment, I was like, "What in the hell is he doing?" And then I realized, that's straight out of the Kirk Ferentz playbook, right? We think that
very much is. They did that last year.
We don't think your offense is just going to make too many mistakes. He was right. He was exactly right. I was wrong. I thought it was ridiculous that they punted that. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you're going to give it, like, you got your shot here to really kind of and I was totally freaking wrong. In terms of, look, I see the debate again, like can we be clear? It is the vast majority is the offensive line is the problem. I'm sure there are issues in terms of why the pressure is happening and why the sacks are happening. I'm not we can have a critique of Dylan and it's there, but don't give me that it is the vast majority of it's the offensive line. He does do weird things where he sometimes steps into it. He is, I think, to some degree. I think he had those interceptions last week in his head, Josh. Like I think he is spooked by interceptions. I honestly do.
That is so annoying. Just throw the freaking ball, man.
Don't you think? Do you agree that I feel like he's spooked? Every time I've had somebody who's actually was at the Michigan game or Michigan State game was like, there are open guys. Like they're open.
Yeah, and Matt texted Gary last night, and it didn't sound like there were as many open guys last night. Gosh, some of the replays. I wish that we could give us an all 22 occasionally. Like hook me up with a full look of what's going on in the stadium. We didn't get a whole lot of that yesterday. I think Jack too, and just since I'm laying it all out with Dylan. I think that there is something to him not wanting his completion percentage to be low, and that's why he never throws the ball away. And that shit is, again, I think that is kind of part of my reasoning for just being so tired of the DR experience right now. He took 9 sacks last night, but he completed 68% of his passes. And there was a caller that was really critical of Matt and I for even going down that path because he said, stop with the conspiracies. But, dude, the reason that I bring this up is the NBA literally changed a rule going into this year that late quarter heaves from half court no longer count. And I can't get that out of my head. If the NBA has to change a rule because NBA players were afraid to shoot a 3 because their 3-point percentage might drop just a little bit lower, why wouldn't a quarterback who, look at his numbers, whoa, he's completing 70% of his passes. That sounds awesome. But it doesn't matter if you're sacked 9 times. It doesn't matter if you're sacked 9 times.
Yeah. Yep. No, whether it's I think both the interceptions and the completion percentage. But on the other hand, again, we can say these things about Dylan, and I don't necessarily disagree with anything you've said, but if you could fix one thing, it's the offensive line. Like, come on. I mean,
yeah,
they were. I mean, some of it just looked egregious in terms of when they were getting in there and how they. I mean, or all the blocking. I mean, Emmett Johnson got completely trucked trying to do a pass block on one play.
That was that the last sack or the second to last sack? That was awful.
I don't remember,
or did they even get to him on that play? That was brutal. That I
just trucked.
I felt so bad. He got shoved back into Dylan. I mean, he launched into the air. Terrible.
I mean, the defense is just coming so hard. So that was really rough. Yeah, man.
Yeah, Corny says, let's be honest, Dylan is very aware of optics and knows that a high completion percentage looks good. Yeah, he definitely does. Right. Matt says, I know Jack has wanted to blame players, not coaches, but is seeing Eckler this year convince you that assistant coaches matter a lot?
I've never said they didn't matter. I think, we don't need to get into the meta of all that, but of course they matter to some degree. I just think sometimes people go to the quick, low-hanging fruit in some situations of an assistant coach when it's pretty clear. This looks like more of a systemic issue right now on the offensive line, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's even what's still more so bizarre to me is this offensive line. And I know there were injuries last night, but so much of this offensive line was there last year and was playing last. I mean, you had Ben Scott, I guess, last year, right? And but there's no reason that this offensive line should have had this kind of a descent from where they were last year to this year.
Correct. I think obviously I thought they'd be better. I was wrong on that, right? They are not better. I can't believe that they're not the same. They have regressed. They have taken a massive step back. The entire operation has. And that's the part that's hard to kind of square with. Not to go to assistant stuff real quick, but I think fine. Sometimes you no, because there's a comment here. I think you get annoyed, and if I'm putting words in your mouth, tell me. I think you get annoyed because the assistant talk kind of can seem like low-hanging fruit, right? Where it's just let's blame them. Okay. Now, this is a good question, though, from JB. Why doesn't Glenn Thomas get critiqued more for Dylan Raiola's lack of development? You want to talk about coaches that we mention all the time, right? Like, we always mention Donovan Raiola. Like, all the coordinators will always get mentioned first and foremost. Bad play calls, blah, blah, blah. The offensive line coach at this place is always going to be critiqued because we are comparing them to the 90s and the 80s and the 70s. Glenn Thomas, his name is very rarely mentioned, even though there is a lot of truth there that Dylan Raiola, I guess, is it because people just put the blame all on him? I don't know why Glenn Thomas's name doesn't get mentioned more. But the lack of development, I guess, it's certainly noticeable. It's certainly noticeable.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
Don't you remember when all the Satterfield talk last year? One of the things we were like, they've got to have a dedicated quarterback coach too. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Corey says because I forget Thomas is even a coach.
That's true. That's part of it. Most people don't know his name compared to Donovan.
Yeah, Yeah,
but
so they go right to the OC, I guess.
I think both of those, they are for certain. There's certainly this is so bad that the offensive line situation, I don't know how it doesn't reflect on everyone who is involved with it whatsoever. I don't consider talking about Raiola or frankly Thomas in this situation low-hanging fruit. And especially again, because it's so much about we've seen what I just said, there should never have been this kind of a drop off. I don't care if this offensive line is average or slightly below average, and that's what they were last year, because that would make sense if they kind of continued where they were. But the drop off with the personnel, not the personnel has got to be more talented than last year overall.
Yeah, it can't be this much. It's definitely not this much worse.
It's
absolutely not this much.
It makes zero sense. Gattuso was in there all of last year, Josh. He never looked like that. He never looked like he did against Michigan or like he did yesterday. The whole year, right? Lutovsky was in there the whole time last year. Evans was in there the whole time last year. And then you added Spindler and you added Pritchett. It makes no sense that they have regressed incredibly. And you could argue, Dylan has too, to some degree.
Yeah.
That's probably
and
not. I wouldn't say Dylan's regressed. That's not fair. I mean, you look at his numbers; he definitely hasn't. But definitely
he hasn't made the leap. I think that much is obvious. We've spent, Jack, the first half hour of the show today on offense. Like, I don't know how much more you have on that, but Corny did mention we haven't talked about the defense. Our defensive line got little push at all. Did we get more than 3 TFLs? We talked a little bit about that 98-yard drive. This was a bummer of a performance because it was just death by 1,000 paper cuts. Like, you look up and down the numbers at Minnesota, right? They only have 339 total yards. Like, that's going to win you a lot of football games. They only have 153 passing yards. That's going to win you a lot of football games. They go, though, Jack, 5 for 12 on third downs. They finish with 6.2 yards per play, and they go 4 for 4 inside of the red zone. And it really did. That long play just was such a game changer early. They get a touchdown the next play, and suddenly it's 7-3 for the longest time, and then it's 7-6, and it's 7-6 again for the longest time.
Yeah.
And that gave them just like, because of what, not to turn it back to the defense again, or the Nebraska's offense, but because Nebraska's offense was so bad, like, there was not ever pressure on Minnesota, so they could just kind of do what they did. You mentioned the decision on fourth down a little bit ago. I can't believe that they punted it, and yet they were waiting for Nebraska, not even to make a mistake, because Nebraska didn't make a mistake in the traditional sense. They couldn't get first downs. They couldn't sustain any drives.
They didn't feel like they ever needed to take risks on offense because they trusted their defense against Nebraska, and that was the perfect prescription for them during the game. Yeah, they punted the same amount of times as Nebraska did in this game. Oddly enough,
wild.
They both.
That is wild.
They punted 5 times. It's the quarterback. Yeah, like you said, he threw for 153 yards. Didn't kill him with deep passes.
Safe passes. Like, the whole game was safe passes.
The longest run other than the 71-yarder was 14 yards.
Mm-hmm.
It was paper cut it was cut by cut by cut. It was nickel and diming the entire way. But consistent nickel and diming, Josh. They never again got behind the sticks ever. Like, when Nebraska had 1 sack, Nebraska had 2 tackles for loss? 3.
Is that what it was?
3 tackles for loss. 1 by Nwaneri, and then Davis and Trent each had a half, and that was the sack. And then Javen Wright had 1. That's it. 3 times they went backwards the entire game, compared to Nebraska went backwards 10 times. 10 times. That's the difference in the game. They were never. If you could have ever gotten that team, in 3rd and 14 or multiple times, most of the time that's going to look good for Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. And Nebraska had penalties. Just got terrible penalty, terrible calls, frankly. But also, you talked about the one on Marshall, right? Man, it's brutal. But yeah, if you can't create any problems in the backfield for Minnesota, like Minnesota was just able to go down there and get a few yards every time without much problem.
Jack, we talked about it in the lead up that this game, you look at it at Minnesota, and everyone was making the same joke. This isn't your slightly older brother's Minnesota Golden Gophers team. And then Darius Taylor finally breaks through. They run the ball better than they have against an opponent like this all season long. Their success rate, they were successful on 45% of their plays, and essentially success rate is just staying ahead of the chains. When passing, they were above 50% success rate. So even when they decided to drop their guy back, Drake Lindsey was I thought he did that is like a classic good freshman performance. Like, just don't put the ball in his hands a whole lot. When he's asked to make a play, he makes a play. It was a lot of short crossers. And then that touchdown admittedly was a great pass.
He had to make one complete dime, but then he did his job. Yep.
And he did, and that was the touchdown where I think a lot of us watching said, well, this game's over. He went 16 of 20, 151 yards. Again, nothing special, but they got him one time in the backfield. He had no mistakes though otherwise, and Darius Taylor finishes with 24 carries for 148 yards, and that long play that really, again, That one play alone changed the math on this entire game, which, Jack, is so wild. They picked up, this has become one of my favorite stats to pay attention to this year, mainly because Nebraska's been so good at it in the first half of the season. Minnesota's offense picked up 51% of available yards. So even, Jack, when they're not scoring, they still were moving the ball enough that then when they would give it back to Nebraska, the field position was essentially out of whack all night long, except for the 98-yard drive that Minnesota had. Nebraska, by the way, available yards, they only picked up 29%. So, I mean, they were barely ever moving the ball down the field. Minnesota always was.
And how many plays did Minnesota turn from 3 yards to 9 yards by breaking the first tackle?
Oh,
right?
God. Too many times. Too many times.
It was just... Man, you had to have. Watson Trent actually had one of his better games, I thought, as Nebraska. But goodness sakes, you've got Wright and you've got McCullough running all over the field trying to get to these guys, just all over the place. And you don't have a push in the middle, right? You don't have a huge run stopper in the middle or any kind of a pass rush that's coming from there. You got to have these plays. I mean, like, to get these kind of like big havoc plays, you've got to have McCullough. And then one time, what was it? One of those times they actually, who was it? They blitzed. Was it Watson Trent? They blitzed like from the middle, and he was untouched. And that was I think that was when they got that sack with Keona Davis, and they blitzed from the middle. I was like, man, it feels like they never do that.
Yeah,
like they never.
That play, I remember that play. A notable play.
My son was with me. He was like, why do they never do that? I was like, that's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah. Corny asks, were there any positives at all? He adds, EJ ran hard. Arch had that one punt. A bunch of guys got exercise. Jokingly, Matt said the same thing to me off the air last night, probably in the fourth quarter. And I think those were my exact answers. Archie had the nice punt. I thought Emmett Johnson, as always, I came away happy to watch him play football. That was it. There were no other positives.
Emmett Johnson,
absolutely none.
I didn't think any much differently about Emmett Johnson than I did after last week. I mean, you know what's funny, Josh? They still didn't throw on Sierra Wright. Like they still did you see Sierra? They were throwing on Jones and Marshall the whole night. Jones had a rough night, but they still didn't throw on Sierra Wright. He just doesn't get thrown on. I thought a positive. I think McCullough. I mean, that dude's ridiculous. It's gonna suck if they don't, get more out of him. Because he's a senior this year. He was all over the place. I mean, he was cleaning up people's messes like crazy last night. And Javen Wright continued to play, I think, pretty well too. But you don't have enough up front, and you got defensive backs missing tackles in a lot of cases too. So, and then offensively, I got nothing offensively. I really don't. Other than Emmett, and if Dylan can, teams are in trouble if Dylan can eventually somehow elude the sack and have time, right?
God.
Like get on the run outside, but that's not, you can't really base an offense on that. Like he continues to be really good in those situations. But no, other than that, they hit their field goal. That was good.
Corey says, they hit two. Yeah, Corey says the tight end play was fine. Yeah, Lindenmeyer has been, one of the bright spots for sure.
Yeah, but man, why in the hell is Harburg not? Talk about a guy.
Harburg, wow.
Like where he was involved more in the Minnesota game in 2023 than he was here.
Wow.
As a receiver.
That's crazy. You're right.
Like you want a guy and I'm not talking about some kind of gadget, put him in the Wildcat, but like, goodness sakes, man, get him the ball on a tight end screen or something. Punish these people for trying to get upfield too fast on the defensive line. There's got to be a way to do that.
D-Dub says, I thought the defense hung in there for quite a while with no help from the offense. Third quarter, Minnesota basically had one play at 7 points. The dam broke from there, but just to be clear, offense. Yeah.
My level of concern for the defense is way less than for the offense. Way less.
We were discussing the offense the defense to mix it up a little bit and see like, hey, what did we learn from the defense last night? Yeah. But this is absolutely a game that is on the offense. Like this isn't. There is no other discussion to be had in terms of laying blame at the feet of the people involved. the defense stunk in the last quarter and a half, but the offense was the
Nebraska is going to have to, if they're going to beat Penn State or Iowa, or I mean, that's going to have to be a defensive. It's going to have to be a 10-7 game. You know,
the book is so out on this team now, Jack. Like the book is, I mean, it really has retroactively. It's made me take a real hard look at the last two teams that they played. Minnesota State. Good job. Good Lord.
Coach Hayden Fox.
Yeah. Michigan State. They seem. John got in trouble recently, Jack, with a Penn State fan for saying Penn State. He thought that they might be circling the drain. This guy's still in our mentions. Michigan State is circling the drain right now, right? Okay. Maryland, let's see what happens. Would it shock you if their season went to absolute shit because this is what they do starting in October?
I don't think either scenario would surprise me with Maryland. I think there's enough sort of discord there with Loxley and everything that could happen. I also think they're good. I also think they're by far they're going to be the best of these four teams that Nebraska's played in this section.
Even better than Minnesota?
Absolutely. That Minnesota... Okay. Like, listen, credit to Fleck, credit to the game plan, credit to everything. That team's not going to get good wins this year. Minnesota.
Okay.
I don't expect them pulling any other upsets off. Like, I don't see it.
I use that to say, like, the way in which they played in those games against teams that, you know, I certainly am viewing as lesser. Absolutely, Michigan State I view as lesser. And I know there were extenuating circumstances of the wind in that game.
Yeah, they're going to get murdered today. They don't have a quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, Childs.
Yeah.
I mean, I said what I thought Childs was, and I think I was right. You know.
Yeah. And so I just wonder now, moving into this back half of the season, again, Northwestern, like they play the type of ball where it could look similar. Maybe not 24-6, but I'm just Jack. My concern level on the offense is at such a high level after a game like yesterday, and I just wonder what they are going to be able to do to what the quarterback is going to do, what the offensive line is going to do to not get him put on his ass 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a football game. You know, like I don't remember who it was. It was either Schaefer or Caleb, because they did a pod together after one of the games. I think Michigan State recently. And it was just like, man, once he gets hit early, he just changes as a quarterback. And that's the name of the game now. If you're the opponent, get to Dylan Raiola early and then see what happens after that, because I think you can frustrate him.
I think Nebraska really has problems running it as they get tighter in formation too. Have you ever noticed that? Like Emmett Johnson's best runs are out of the shotgun and when the field is spread out. When they get tight and the defense gets tight, they just can't do it. And it's why they can't run inside of the red zone, I don't think. Either why that's been such a problem too. But like the most obvious and first answer, Josh, is you have a very good running back. Establish the freaking running game. But they couldn't against Minnesota. Or first of all, I don't think Emmett got the ball the first three and out, right? Those first 3 plays, they were all passes,
correct, because
right?
everyone's pissed because he had such a great game last week.
And I was sitting there, I was like, are they thinking that? Are they going to think Nebraska's so excited about Emmett Johnson's like being fired up that they're trying to like overthink the poker game here? How in God's name are you not giving it to Emmett Johnson on the first play of the game or the second play of the game? Because when has he been consistently good? He's been consistently good most of the year. He's the first drive of the year in every game. He looks great.
Remember, first play against Michigan or whatever it was. It's like, whoa, 12 yards right up the gut.
It feels like every game, the first play of the game has been an Emmett Johnson 8 to 12 yard run.
It really does. The success rate on the early EJ carries is very high. Very high.
And like he didn't like, you've got to, he's your guy right now. If you can't get it to your other playmakers by passing it, you're going to have to actually rely on Emmett Johnson more. And that seems incredible, but you're going to have to, because I don't know who else I trust to make defenses worry, because Dylan's got to get it to the other guys. Right. We still didn't see a Ja'Cory Barney jet sweep. How in the world, when they are
how does that guy get one offensive
with
touch?
Their defensive lineman like this? How in the world are you not getting him on the outside? So they have to think about that. I don't listen. I don't know jack about X's and O's compared to Holgorsen. Obviously, I mean, I am in no place to have that. It is shocking to me that they don't get some more horizontal motion going to sort of, or whatever whatever it might be, to dissuade other teams from pinning their ears back, even if it's just the front four, right? Defensive end on contain, a reverse, go around you got your speed. Get it to Isaiah Hunter, get it to those guys. Like Dylan with the ball running around back there ain't it. It just ain't it. And so he's got to you have got to find place to get the ball out of his hands ASAP to one of 5 really good players.
I know. Yeah, D-Dub says, I didn't mind the number of touches EJ got last night, 20 or so. What I didn't love was the sequence of those touches. Felt like a missed opportunity in the first half. Yeah. The way in which they got him involved was very strange. Very strange.
And then the problem is, of course, you get a sack on first down, Josh. And then,
and then everything, it just kind of changes right away. It's like, oh, here we go again. Riz says, how much do we think Dana cares about this job? Like, look, I would really hope that this is not about a effort level or care level. That was, I mean, Jack, so he's been the OC now for 11 games. Is that the most frustrated that you have been or that anyone has been about his play call? It has to be, right? Like, that has to be probably the worst game of play calling.
No, yeah, so I mean, that was equal with my frustration was with the offensive line 1 and play calling 2. Yeah. At least at halftime of that game.
For sure. That ain't good.
Now let's take a bigger look now, Josh. Okay. Because I don't even know what to make of the whole Penn State conversation now anymore.
I know.
I mean, like in a weird good. You wanna find a silver lining. I think it's going to bring down the temperature on that pretty significantly, I would think. Just
to be a little pithy, unless you don't like Matt Rule, then this is not a good thing that it's going to bring down that temperature, but I acquiesce again to you.
Right. Like I feel, and then again, now you look at, I have no idea what to expect from this team now. Like Northwestern now becomes a game where you don't know.
Correct.
You don't know.
Correct. Jack, they lose their 5-3, and they're the same record they are after 8 games in each of the last 2 years.
Like it's like the insane thing is, Josh, if somehow they lose to Northwestern,
oh boy,
it is Groundhog Day with 5 wins.
Correct.
It is absolute. It is the 3rd year in a row of the 5 wins, and then what a weird thing for a team to do 3 years in a row. Look good, not perfect, but look really good to the point that you get 5 wins, and then you're just a different team after that.
Yeah, and for those who don't remember,
how does that happen?
5-3. They started 5-3 2 years ago, year 1. They finished 0-4. Last year they started 5-1, and in the regular season they went 1-5 down the stretch. And remember, they had 4 straight losses, so they were 5-1, and then they were suddenly 5-5 before they got the win over Wisconsin. This year started 5-1, and now they're 0-1 since they've only played 1 game. And Jack, I think the thing that annoys the hell out of me about it, at least in the short term, is last year the signs were there that they were like teetering, right? Like they lost to Illinois, and then the wins over Purdue and who am I forgetting? Rutgers were so bad. Like those games sucked. And like, maybe the problems were also there in the last 2 weeks, and we were just ignoring them because the offense scored 30-plus points in both of them, and, the defense made some plays. But, like, I didn't leave either of those games thinking, the signs are there that they're going to have this complete and total drop-off. Like, that's the thing that I didn't see coming, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But, yes, you're right. Like, again, dude, they lose. They lose on Saturday, and it is the same record as they had last year and the year before. That is no growth. And suddenly you have USC coming into town, and you're like, oh my gosh, are they going to go 5-4? UCLA is playing better. I'm still, and I wasn't going into last night. I was never viewing Penn State as this, like, yep, they're going to go in there and take care of business. Why? And now I definitely feel that way. And then Iowa. Iowa's Iowa. Why would I ever feel confident about them beating Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, that Northwestern game all of a sudden becomes the
oh god
the difference between okay,
yeah,
all right, we at least got there to oh no, it's on the table, right? Mm-hmm. The 5-win thing is on the table again. It's freaking. I think this is the most disappointing performance by Nebraska football probably since the Georgia Southern game.
I was going to say, of the Matt Rule era, this is the worst.
Yeah,
this is absolutely the worst loss.
The only one I can think of is Georgia Southern would have been more and there was just so much going on then. Maybe that's not even a good comp, but I mean, and frankly, Josh, I mean, and here's one of the questions that everyone asks, and I don't know if it matters because there's nothing you can do about it, but did the Penn State stuff matter in all of this? And look, Nebraska didn't bring that on themselves. And so it's not even casting blame, but I mean, to change that much from one week to the other, all the problems, the problems that came up were ones we knew about, but that was a different offense than competed against Maryland. It was a completely different situation on offense against Maryland. And so it's hard to, like, when you see that dramatic of a shift, it's hard not to say, okay, well, it feels like something else is going on there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see when he speaks on Monday what he says, because last week he was like, no, it's great. Everything's great. Remember, he was like, this is great. I like this. This is great. This is what we do. This is what you do when you're good. Will there be a tonal shift from him and other, and I would also ask this, will he be asked about? I mean, he probably will, right? Like last week was a lot. Do you think that got to the team? Did it get to you? Like, he'll be asked that. I'm curious to see what his answer is.
I don't know. I would love another. Then how in the world did you go to what we saw last night on offense? Like, just you I don't freaking know, man. It's brutal. And now I don't even know. I can't even think of the scenarios, like how this all plays out now, Josh, with Penn State. Like, what does it, if Penn State was possibly interested, what does it take them to be not interested anymore? Maybe they never were going to be. That's still obviously a possibility. But like, is there a place where they have to cut bait and say, we can't sell this anymore because of the last 3 weeks of football? Which seems
if I would not have been hosting a show last night and I would have just had some time to kind of blow off steam, I would have absolutely hopped on the Penn State 24/7 message board and just to see what they're saying, because I have to imagine it was, are you freaking serious? This is the guy. I have to imagine that everybody in that fan base that it was already out on him is like, see, and the ones who maybe were teetering are like, never mind, I don't want this guy.
A whole bunch of them were watching him for the first time.
Bingo, and it was on national television.
No other games, there's
that is such a great point, Jack. Like, because you're right. Like, I remember like when Scott Frost and UCF got going, suddenly like everybody every week was tuning into like, hey, I want to see what's going on. What's going on? I have to imagine that there are a lot of Penn State fans that have been so wrapped up in themselves that they hadn't even watched Nebraska this year, because why would they, right? And so they were like, all right, hey, Friday night, I got nothing going on. I'll check them out. And they had to come away saying, this is the guy. This coach is the guy. And so, silver lining, it depends again on how you view Matt Rule and his future at Nebraska. If you wanted him gone, then it is not a silver lining. If you want him to stay, of course, it is a silver lining. But you would have to figure that this is going to change the math on that. And more failure in the final 5 games would just ramp that up even more. And I joked about that at some point this week, Jack, that like the worst case scenario of this season is not Nebraska wins and it's hanging over them, but that they lose to a point where you say, was there a distraction? And it just becomes so frustrating that the season gets kind of lost, Like I think we talked about it yesterday when you were on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Moving into this back half, there was this possibility that they continued to have success, but there was this thing hanging over them, and it took away from the joy of it. And now, Jack, you worry that there will even be any joy at all.
Yeah.
And then he won't get hired, and then everyone will just be pissed going into another season where they have to make some sort of change to try to fix the problems.
And honestly, man, if you could put this week into our groin kick formula, it would score very, very high, right? Starting from the moment that Dane Key, just from the moment that Dane Key scores that touchdown, and the exuberance and the players coming out onto the field at Maryland. And I'm as high as I've been as a Husker fan in years, about the team, about the potential, all of that. And then the next morning, Penn State happens. And then it's just like, you got to have that high for a few hours once again.
Really?
And then absolute bottoms out. And then absolute bottoms out. It's just, it almost follows the script of one of those games, to be honest. Like, it's just like, wow, you should be here. Here we go. Here we go. It's finally time to party, right? Remember the great party factor, or what parties missed factor? Like it was gonna be Friday night, Nebraska bowl eligible, right? No distractions. You go in, you finally beat this Minnesota team, and instead you had a whole week where you didn't even focus on that, and at least as a fan, and they lose, and they just have their worst performance you could have ever imagined. And here we go, looking at Northwestern being possibly the thing that erases any idea of the whole Matt Rule year 3 thing. If Northwestern wins that, right?
Wow, you're right.
What do we say? 3-1. We said 4-0, and all of a sudden you've guaranteed an improvement. 3-1, there's still a chance, but you've got to pull something off. 2-2, same old thing.
Yeah, and we talked about it a lot over the last few weeks. The idea of a 4-0 October. Well, of course, that's off the board. We wondered aloud, hey, with 3-1, would that be enough? It would get them to 6-2, which would be progress, which is nice. You would look at the schedule and say, all right, you can maybe squint at 8-4. You could squint at 9-3, but it's going to be really hard. I thought if they went 3-1, that 7-5 was very much going to be the record. Now, now you lost in the way in which you did, Jack. 7-5 almost seems like a victory if they're able to get there. It really does. Yeah. Matt says I lost Northwestern and 6 and staring us 6-6 in the face.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it's the same thing.
5-7 might be staring them in the face.
You're running back the first 2 years. It isn't even just the Rule era. It is remarkable, Josh, how often something happens in the middle of a season, whether we know what it is or not, and just changes the entire tenor of this program from what happened in the first half of the season. And then all of a sudden, everything feels like a battle. Everything feels dark. I mean, all the way back to Pelini. It's just, it's like something, sometimes there are actual incidents, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's hanging over the program, whether it's something as simple as not being able to get the 6th win, whether it's the Penn State thing, whether it's, Mike Riley in 2016, there's always some. Why does October and November feel so dark around here every damn year? They can't get. It's a different mojo. It looks like a different team every year in the second half than the first half.
Isn't it often just like such a house of cards that this place is just so. I mean, to go back to the question about the distraction, you just worry about the fragility and that things just go a little bit wrong and everybody melts down. And last night was just on offense in particular, and it took until the fourth quarter for defense, but just a complete and total meltdown. There was a comment, and it's way too long ago now, and so I apologize, but I know it was from Matt, where he pointed out, oh, here it is, I found it. Imagine this season if we didn't bring in Eckler. I feel like special teams has already won his 2 games. We would have otherwise lost Cincinnati and Michigan State. We'd be 3-4 right now, and the season would feel way different, as bad as it feels right now. Like, man, you want to talk about, hey, what if they finally fix special teams? I mean, it has saved them a couple of times. It saved their bacon a couple of times so far this year. And the shitty part about last night is there was no bacon to save. There was never even the one time that special teams made the play, a punt down to the 2. Mm-hmm. That was the worst defensive drive of the season. Like complimentary football, and they couldn't do it that one time. Because you get to stop there, Jack. Suddenly you have the ball at the 50, and I know you haven't had any success in their side of the field, but maybe then you finally are able to build. Like that could have been a nice momentum swing, and it was. It was just a nice momentum swing the other way.
Yeah, and maybe it's just some other comments. The schedule just gets harder in the second half, I guess, or that.
Yeah, you're not playing non-conference games anymore.
I guess so, but like even back to, I'm even going back to like Pelini, right? Like they look like it's not just that they look like a different team at the end of the year sometimes, and have for many of these years, and a lot of times it's because of an event. It's just because of the mood around the program. It's all jovial and fun and backslappy in the first half of the season when you're talking to the coach, and then there's a cloud over it in the second half because of something tangible or intangible. And yeah, part of it is harder games, no doubt about it. But it's also just a feeling as well. And here we are, right? UCLA game last year. Come on, don't tell me Nebraska wasn't built to beat that UCLA team last year. I mean, like,
correct.
There was a cloud.
Chris says,
there was a cloud. Yeah.
Yeah, October and November, it's funny that we make jokes about post-September Maryland when we have been eerily similar to that vibe the last few years. This team is a handful of plays away from 3-4. You get some brownie points for finally winning one-score games, but this 5-2 feels incredibly fraudulent. Yeah, That's a good. I mean, yes, absolutely right.
No,
We do the October Maryland stuff, and that's mainly because they're always like 4-0, so they always go 4-0. Nebraska hasn't done that very much. God, when's the last time they went 4-0 in October? 2016, right? It's like they don't do that, but they do. They completely fall apart in October and certainly in November.
And I feel like we have adequately documented Nebraska's failure in big games down the road.
Check out the.
I would say we haven't left that part undiscussed, just in fairness. But let me ask this question, Josh, to at least maybe sort of finish it off on what does turning it around from this look like, right? Paint me. We used to call this edging. I don't know if that's quite the word right now, but like, paint me what can happen now if it goes well. And like, I know everybody has said their doomsday scenario, can't win another game, whatever. But what does it look like? I don't know. What does it look like?
I would say at the very least, and not to be. Yeah, and Matt says it. Not to be a coach, 1-0 in your next game. Like, go 1-0. Like, I honestly think winning next week, it's not going to fix everything. There are still a whole host of problems. But, Jack, they cannot be 5-3 again. That is not a record that they can have again. They cannot go into November with the same record, because if they're 5-3, they will be 5-4. If they're 5-4, suddenly they're going across the country to UCLA, a team that already beat them. And, like, I wouldn't be that confident. Like, that's the thing, man. So I guess I'll answer it in a different way. They cannot allow these losses to compound on themselves once again. They just can't do it. They cannot allow a one-game losing streak to turn into 2. Because if it's 2, I think it will turn into 3. And if it's 3, I see no way it doesn't turn into 4. And if they lose to UCLA, why would they beat Penn State and why would they beat Iowa? Josh, like that. Maybe some would say that's an overreaction, but Jack, I really think it's as simple as you got to win next week and then figure it out after that.
Yeah, it's
just
a
at
must.
Least get to 6.
And let me tell you what next week is. Next week is 2024 UCLA. That's exactly what that game is. It's you go in,
a team you should beat.
You assume it doesn't. Now it's the least exciting home game this year. Now. Right, it'll probably be gray. It'll probably be 11 a.m. It'll be a crowd that is not. I mean, that's what that game is. That is the UCLA game. Because what happened after that, right? Then it was just like, oh no, here we go. We thought that was the one they were going to get bowl eligible, and now who knows, right?
And there's no Wisconsin last year on the schedule, like because the thing is. Man,
it's harder,
it's but because Wisconsin came
after the UCLA, after the UCLA game,
they like the good part about Wisconsin was it was a home game. Like you might look and like I do, I think Penn State stinks, but that doesn't matter, and it's also a road game. So like that's going to be really tough.
There's no game you'll be favored by what you were against Wisconsin. I think even in that game, I don't know what Nebraska was favored in that game against Wisconsin, but they were favored. Like
I probably by 3 to 7 points. It was probably somewhere in there.
They beat Northwestern, or they will if they would lose to Northwestern, I assume they'll be an underdog in the rest of their games.
Yeah, they'll definitely be an underdog against USC. I would guess they'd be an underdog against UCLA, a short road underdog.
Penn State, yes.
Certainly against Penn State. And then Iowa. Iowa's always weird because when Nebraska was 3-8 going into the 21 game, they were favored. But, like, at the very least, it would be a coin flip type
can you
point
imagine,
spread.
man?
If they're 5-6 going into that game? No. Jack, that sounds like hell. That sounds like the absolute worst timeline. Absolute worst timeline. So
they've got to beat Northwestern. They got to put every damn thing they've got in. They got to treat this game like the Super Bowl because it is. It is. I mean,
So to go to your question, God, we keep saying fork in the road. Every freaking game is a fork in the road right now, right? Al says we lose to Northwestern, we don't make a bowl game. I think I agree. So, like, to answer your question, that's what they got to do. Because you do that, you regroup. You get a win. You're not 5-3. You lock that up. At the very least, you know that you're not going to have that cloud hanging over you. But Jack, if they go into November with that cloud hanging over them, and USC comes into town with that offense, because like that's the problem. They're not just going to get to play Big Ten West types teams. Like I would say that this game on Saturday is probably going to be lower scoring. All right, that they could win that game. You do not want to get into a shootout with USC. I don't think they could keep
No.
up.
No,
they absolutely cannot keep up.
The best case scenario is win that Northwestern game like you should, and then take your shot, right, against USC, and if build it back into some kind of a little bit of a big game. And it's the old, but Josh, it then becomes the old hope for an upset like we've seen, going to Indiana last year, or Ohio State, or Michigan coming into Lincoln a couple of years ago. That's what that game becomes.
And hey,
right?
there's a good question. Do they randomly pull a nice performance out of their asses? In the USC game would be the best example in terms of a comp to Ohio State, where like they got destroyed by Indiana, and then the next week it was like, what the hell? Now, was Ohio State overlooking them? Probably. Were they taking them as seriously as they take other opponents? Probably not.
Yeah.
But like, do they have one of those get off the mat
Probably.
performances?
It always happens. It always happens.
Because if you would have told me last year, they looked like garbage against Indiana. Garbage. And then they played maybe, you could make an argument pound for pound, the best game of the Matt Rule era.
Things always change.
Performance. Yeah.
The one thing is that you can never extrapolate what happened for the rest of the season. And it will, there's no one who thought they would do this against Ohio State last year. And potentially, like, it still doesn't make sense to this moment.
No. National championship team, and they played them better than almost anybody.
I am not closing the book on them looking on even Minnesota being a bit of an anomaly, right? Right. They'll have these continued problems that they're having, but looking back and being like, okay, that was just a complete.
Hey, and in fairness to you, it is an anomaly so far this year. They lost to Michigan. They didn't look this bad. And then they beat everybody else. Like this is easily the worst that they have looked this year. It's the worst they've looked since Indiana last year, or UCLA, I guess, depending on which one you think they looked worse against. It's like, you just got to hope that it is an anomaly, but can it be,
right.
Or do they allow this to, Jack, we're really going to learn something about this team, and how they respond next week, because I think the pressure is going to, I think everybody knows that the pressure is going to be on them. And so how do they respond? How do they respond when Northwestern comes into town?
Yeah.
God.
I guarantee Monday, Matt Rule references that UCLA game last year.
Yeah. I bet you're right.
It feels so similar.
Anything else on Minnesota? I got the Saturday flight. I made that right before we got going. If we want to get excited for a day at college.
I guess so. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's take a look at the Saturday flight. Of course, we get you ready for the games that we will be interested in the world of college football. Jack, we got ranked in every single window. Starts with LSU and Vandy on ABC coming up at the top of the hour.
That's fun.
Are you going with LSU or are you going with Vandy in this one?
I think, this is one of those ones where it feels like there's just some toxicity around the program at one place and still excitement at the other. And so I'll take Vanderbilt for that reason. I think LSU just feels like, I don't know. It just feels things could be bad there.
Talk about bad vibes. Their offense is trash. Offense.
I just think there's bad vibes with LSU. So, and Vanderbilt always has good vibes, it feels like. So
they do. Diego Pavia is a man of good vibes. By the way, Jack, right now, James Franklin is on College Game Day. I wonder what.
Oh God, I saw they were going to do that. I'm so fascinated what he's saying.
Yeah. Washington at Michigan, big noon kickoff.
Watch out. Watch out. Washington's getting Washington's getting way too many points in that game. If you're looking at the spread. So
yeah, I
think I'm afraid we're going to look back and be like, guys, Michigan wasn't even that good.
Yeah. Well, we're certainly saying that right now about
and they're out. Justice Haynes is out for Michigan too.
Oh, interesting game. Very, very fascinating. ESPN Georgia Tech undefeated. I feel like I haven't watched Georgia Tech in a month. I was like, wait, they're 6-0? Because I just haven't seen them. They must have had some off weeks in there, but they go on the road at Duke. Duke, a short home favorite rather, over the Ramblin' Wreck.
Georgia Tech's fun.
Baylor.
Georgia Tech's fun. By the way, Manny Diaz, coach at Duke. That could be another one to watch.
Penn State
fans will be watching that one.
People forget Baylor at TCU. Remember a decade ago when this rivalry was awesome, and now nobody really cares anymore. FS1 Arizona at Houston. Army at Tulane on ESPN. Oh, shoot. That is ESPNU. My bad. I left it. I forgot to add the U there. And then SEC Network. Oklahoma, South Carolina, dude. You want to talk about a team that feels like it's teetering? The Sooners. Everybody in that fan base is freaking out right now of, if they lose, are they going to go like winless down the stretch? Because their schedule is brutal. This is the game. This is their Northwestern, Jack. They have to win this game.
Okay, so this is a potential bad vibes situation for Oklahoma.
Yeah. Going to be very, very tough. Mid-afternoon, Ole Miss at Georgia. Jack, I hope I'm wrong. I think Georgia wins. I think Georgia wins and covers. I'm very worried. I would much rather have Ole Miss win, but I don't think that's going to be the case.
I agree.
Yeah. Ohio State at Wisconsin. How many points do you think Ryan Day tries to put on them? Because like they're about to fire Fickle. Like, does he treat him well?
I think.
Let's win 30-0.
Like it's a 27 or 28 point line, I think. But yeah, I think they'll be kind to Fickle at the end, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. I don't think they're going to be mean.
And Wisconsin, I mean, Wisconsin kept it sort of close with Michigan for a while. Like maybe, I don't know, maybe they can, but then they were just miserable again last week. So yeah. When's that? Is that going to happen in season, by the way?
Well, it wouldn't. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it happens tomorrow. You know, I don't know why they brought him back for this week. That was stupid. If you're going to fire him in season, just fire him after the game last week. You know, why would you let him coach against Ohio State?
Give him a shot, because if you would somehow pull a miracle, then what, right?
Yeah, stupid, dumb. Texas A&M and Arkansas on ESPN. It's wild. So you got number 4 A&M, you got number 3 Indiana playing in the same window on Peacock versus Michigan State. Those teams, of course, if they win, will move up a spot because Miami goes down. So Jack, I mean, we are a few hours away potentially from number 2 Indiana, which I think will happen. Let's see it with A&M. You know, it wouldn't surprise me. I feel like they're going to slip up at some point, but number 2 Indiana, number 3, yeah. We're on the same wavelength.
A&M is due for an A&M. They've been too consistent this year, right? Yeah. Like, I feel like they are due, and Arkansas is, again, playing with house money. Arkansas has a great offensive line. You know, they already got rid of their coach. They're getting to the good vibes point that UCLA has gotten to after firing a coach. I don't know. Watch out on that one.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Other games, if you want to do a little scouting, Northwestern hosting Purdue on BTN. That game kicks off at 2:00, actually, which is weird. They don't have a morning game.
What do you think about that? I have no idea. I've seen more Purdue than Northwestern, so I don't even know.
I think Purdue is frisky. I think Purdue is a very frisky team. Like, I think they have made a huge upgrade with Barry Odom as their head coach. Massive upgrade.
But Northwestern beat UCLA. Like, post-firing UCLA that everyone thinks is unbeatable now.
No, they beat them pre-firing. That was like the last loss before, wasn't it? Wasn't it right before? That was the final game before they fired him. But I thought it was
post-firing.
Was it? For some reason, I thought it was pre-firing. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, dude, Jack, they win. They have the same record as Nebraska.
Maybe I'm wrong.
They'd be 5-2 if they win this game. So we'll see. Texas Tech is at Arizona State on Fox. Texas Tech is such a wagon right now, man. They're so good.
And like Levitt, I think is probable, but if he has problems, it's Jeff Sims again.
And Texas Tech's playing their backup, but their backup quarterback looked really good in the win over Utah. So I don't think it's a huge drop off because their lines are too good. SMU at Clemson on the ACC network. So those are the 2:30 games. Night window is awesome. You got USC at Notre Dame, of course, a little scouting there. I think that's the main TV game for yours truly tonight. Tennessee at Bama, third Saturday in October, as well on ABC. Jack, I think this game is going to go down to the wire. Alabama, I think they're good, but they play with fire a little bit with some of these games, hanging just in that kind of cover zone. Like, will they cover? Will the opponent cover? Will they cover? Will the opponent cover? I don't think they're going to lose. I think it's going to be a close game, though.
It feels like Tennessee always plays to their opponent.
Yeah.
In the SEC. Yeah, under Heupel.
Yeah, we saw that against Georgia in September. Another ranked-unranked game tonight, the Holy War. Utah is at BYU. Jack, I don't know. Speaking of playing with fire, Bachmeier, man, that guy, he made some mistakes last week. They got away with it. They won. They're still undefeated, but I think Utah's going to – I like Utah. I like Utah today. Penn State at Iowa. Wow, if you would have told me, man, that this game would be in this scenario with Iowa as a home favorite over Penn State.
Penn State has a chance to do the funniest thing.
They very much do. They very much do. Do you think they will, or do you think Iowa wins?
I would – Penn State's getting 3 points. I'd take the 3.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I took Iowa in the pick'em yesterday, but I would. It'd be funny to be wrong. Texas and Kentucky.
Post-firing stress relief. It almost always happens.
It does. The different, and maybe it's good that they don't have Drew Aller. Talk about just like a guy. We talked about the Dylan stuff earlier. Like, God, the Drew Aller experience has been terrible. it's not fun. Nobody has had fun with the Drew Allen experience.
I mean, like,
Zero
they still
fun.
have Singleton and Katron Allen and NFL players on the defense. I mean, look, they obviously were terrible in these last two games, but there was something up there on that. And Aller was playing, obviously, with a lot of pressure. I don't know how much of that just loosens up and you go to Iowa and they're annoying and you just say, F it. You know, I mean,
that's true.
We'll see.
Texas at Kentucky. It'd be funny. Texas coming off Red River Shootout. What if they lost this game? That'd be pretty hilarious.
It's weirdly not surprising.
BTN has Oregon at Rutgers, and SEC Network has Missouri at Auburn. Auburn, man, you want to talk about a coach who's on the hot seat. Yikes. They are big time struggle bus.
Man, can't believe that didn't work out.
And then only a few games in the Sickos window, which sucks. Florida State at Stanford, a classic ACC matchup. The CW has Lafayette at Oregon State, and FS1 has Nevada at New Mexico. So, you know what? Probably good, Jack, that the late window stinks because I'm going to be very tired tonight, you know, and I'll probably want to go to bed.
Remember when people thought Florida State might be one of the top 3 teams in the nation? That's weird.
Yikes.
Wow. What? Talk about an early game that there is always an early game that doesn't mean anything. It's usually like that Sunday night game on Labor Day with Florida State is in it usually. Yes. It seems like the LSU Florida State games, right? There's always an early season result that means nothing. And that was it this year.
And that was absolutely it. All right, Jack. I think that's everything.
Good therapy, guys.
Yep.
It sucks, man. It just sucks. What a week of just going from as high as you've been in a while to back to where you always are and maybe worse.
Well, not even a week ago, Jack, Nebraska hadn't even kicked off yet against Maryland, and to think of everything that has happened since then has been quite the thing. D'Lo says, great show, guys. Thank you, D'Lo. We appreciate that. For those who are hanging out with us, maybe this is your first time, you stumbled upon us. We would love, at the very least, to like and subscribe on the way out the door on the YouTube channel. Jack and I do pods for subscribers on Wednesday nights, sometimes on Tuesdays or Thursdays, like this week. I-80 Live will be on Thursday because I have a soccer match that I'm calling on Wednesday. So we will be on Thursday. But we do bonus pods once a week for our subscribers. We do free shows on Saturday mornings. We have a bunch of other stuff mixed in as well. The I-80 football show, which debuts on Thursday mornings. We have the Big Ten Breakdown with Ben Stevens. Ooh. Volleyball State goes live on Sunday nights for subscribers, and then that releases publicly on Tuesdays. And other stuff in between. It'll be basketball season soon. Oh,
game today! Season, it's Nebraska basketball season. Let's go.
What time is after Nebraska ball tonight?
There's no after Nebraska ball tonight. I'm going to be out of town, but once we get into, we'll get a schedule going here for the regular season games. We gotta nail some of that down in the next week. So
yes,
we will do that. I'm not going to go. I will not be at the game. I'm going to watch it afterwards. Top 10 team coming in, maybe the top draft pick coming in. In the NBA. That's kind of fun. It sucks that you've got to have exhibitions to get good games for college basketball for mid-level teams like Nebraska.
Yeah, it very much does. So we'll have basketball stuff coming very soon as that season gets going. And again, we would love to have you. Patreon.com/I80 Club is where you can go if you want all of the things that we have to offer here inside of the I80 Club. And as I mentioned, we'll be back on Thursday for subscribers. We will be on Saturday. I believe, Jack, I'm doing overreaction, so we'll figure out what time the post-game show is.
Do you think it's an 11 a.m. kick now?
I was hearing this week 2:30. 2:30. Now,
but did that change?
It might have changed.
Might depend what Northwestern does. I don't know.
We'll
know tomorrow morning or late tonight, maybe.
The word on the street from Awful Announcing was that Penn State struggling might have moved Nebraska USC to Big Noon, but now that Nebraska has shit the bed, now everything is up in the air.
They were playing the long game to make USC
we want a night game.
The night game that they wanted so badly.
Unreal. So
interesting.
We'll learn the Northwestern. They always say, Jack, it's a 6-day window, so we'll learn tomorrow. Sometimes, though, those 6-day windows, we learn them on Saturdays. So it depends, I think, on Northwestern. What time did we say that game is?
Sometimes it was Saturday night, yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if tonight we get a kickoff time for that game.
Oh.
It wouldn't surprise me.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Let's cut it out on the shaming people who don't like the all-white uniforms. I think we can be done with that. It's okay to not like the all-white. Don't give me some tweet, unnamed media source, that breaks down the record as if we didn't know it. So annoying. So annoying. Quit. Just
I can't say anything.
I don't know why.
They lost
I don't know
again.
why all these woke uniform people feel like they have to defend those uniforms every time. It's so bizarre. Add another one to the list of trauma associated with those uniforms. Right. Get them the hell out of here.
I can't argue. I like them. I can't argue though. All right. So that's all the stuff we have coming up over the next week. We would love to have you. Patreon.com/I80 Club. He is Jack Mitchell. I'm Josh Peterson. Try to enjoy the football today. And if not, I understand why you won't. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.